Hi everyone. Great article in the Intercept today on Gina Haspel. Gina Haspel, the proven torturer who is up for the position of head of the CIA at the moment, and it looks like she's going to be confirmed, unfortunately. Um, I'm going to read quite a bit of this article because it will give you some idea as to just how bad the torture was that went on in, I think it was Thailand, that she was overseeing during the 2000s. This is the article. US Navy Reserve doctor on Gina Haspel torture victim. One of the most severely traumatized individuals I have ever seen. An American doctor and naval reserve officer who has done extensive medical evaluation of a high-profile prisoner who was tortured under the supervision of Gina Haspel privately urged Senator Mark Warner, the vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, to oppose Haspel's confirmation as CIA director, according to an email obtained by the Intercept. Mark Warner is one of the Democrats who said he's going to come out and vote yes to confirm her. I've evaluated Mr. Abdel Rahim al-Nashiri, as well as close to 20 other men who were tortured as part of the CIA's RDI, that's Rendition, Detention and Interrogation Program. From this point on, I'm just going to call it the torture program, because that's what it was. It's not enhanced interrogation, it's not rendition, detention and interrogation, it's torture. And I'm just going to replace those things with that word from now on. I am one of the only health professionals he has ever talked to about his torture, its effects, and his ongoing suffering. Dr. Sandra Crosby, a professor of public health at Boston University, wrote to Warner's legislative director on Monday. He is irreversibly damaged by torture that was unusually cruel and designed to break him. In my over 20 years of experience treating torture victims from around the world, including Syria, Iraq, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, Mr. al-Nashiri presents as one of the most severely traumatized individuals I have ever seen. Syria, Iraq, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, and he's the worst. Wow. Nashiri was snatched in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates in 2002 and rendered to Afghanistan by the CIA and eventually taken to the Katsai prison in Thailand that was run by Haspel from October to December 2002. He was suspected of involvement in the 2000 bombing of the USS Cole off the east coast of Yemen. He is currently being held at Guantanamo Bay. Despite Crosby's pleas, Warner and 5 other Democratic senators have announced their support for Haspel. I think I put a list of 5 or 6 senators, Democratic senators, I thought would definitely confirm her, and I think I was right on 5 of the 6. Warner was the only one, I think, who I was wrong on. And Doug Jones voted no when I said he was going to vote yes, but other than that, I was pretty much bang on. I'd sent that tweet out last week. Warner backed Haspel after she sent him a carefully crafted letter designed to give him the impression that she had changed her position on torture while simultaneously continuing to defend its efficacy. So she's giving him the impression that she's against it, but she's also saying it works. I'll come back to that at the end. While I won't condemn those that made these hard calls, and I have noted the valuable intelligence collected, the program ultimately did damage to our officers and our standing in the world, Haspel wrote. With the benefit of hindsight and my experience as a senior agency leader, the torture program, is not one the CIA should have undertaken. Haspel stated that she would refuse to undertake any proposed activity that was contrary to my moral and ethical values. Haspel, if you oversaw the torture of these people, many of which were innocent and have been proven innocent since, you have no moral or ethical values. But Haspel has refused to renounce torture, her role in it, or to use her role in its use, or to condemn the practice of waterboarding. In fact, under questioning from Senator Kamala Harris during her confirmation hearing, Haspel explicitly refused to say that the torture techniques she oversaw at a secret CIA prison in Thailand were immoral. She refused to say it. That fact renders her pledge to Warner meaningless. This is what Crosby wrote, the doctor. I urge Senator Warner to oppose Miss Haspel, who did not have the courage or leadership to oppose the torture program, wrote Crosby. She stated that some of the techniques used against Nashiri are still classified. So some of them are still classified. In her letter to Warner, Crosby stated that among the known acts of torture committed against Nashiri while he was in US custody at the site Haspel ran, and then at the other US facilities included. Now remember, these are just the ones that we know of. There are others that are classified that we don't know of. So they may well be worse than this. In fact, I would suggest that they probably are worse if they're classified. These are the things that he went through. Suffocated with water or waterboarding, that's a given. Subject to mock execution with a drill and a gun while standing naked and hooded. It's Russian roulette they played on it. Anal rape through rectal feeding. Threatened that his mother would be sexually assaulted, lifted off the ground by arms while they were bound behind his back. Can you imagine that? Imagine tying your hands behind your back and being hooked up to a ceiling and being lifted up. Man, that must be excruciatingly painful. After which the medical officer opined that his shoulders might be dislocated, and that does not surprise me. In a May 7th briefing to the Intelligence Committee staffers, also obtained by the Intercept, Crosby asserted that during Nashiri's torture, unauthorised techniques were always used with authorised techniques. So these will be the classified ones, I would think. Crosby stated that she could not discuss these unauthorised techniques because they remain classified. Yeah, exactly, I was right. She cited that a public statement from one of the CIA contractors who developed the the torture program, psychologist James Mitchell, who said he witnessed an interrogator dousing Nashiri with cold water while using a stiff, bristle brush to scrub his ass and balls, and then his mouth, and then blowing cigar smoke in his face until he became nauseous. Nauseated is the word there. She offered to brief senators with appropriate security clearance on other classified unauthorised techniques. The bottom line on the Haspel nomination, said Wyden, is that the vast amount of information about her background could be declassified without compromising sources or methods, and that really does a disservice to the American people. You think, Denozo? This is horrifying. In the briefing, Crosby described the torture in graphic, albeit unclassified terms. The terror of being kept naked, in pitch black, shackled to the ceiling while music blared, covered in urine and feces while insects crawled on their bodies, in dank cells that were freezing cold or unbearably hot. The horrific conditions in between interrogations were in some cases as bad as the interrogations. These torture methods were inflicted for hours and days, for weeks at a time. Over the course of years, these men became disorientated with no sense of when the abuse would stop. Some of the men wished for death. You're not kidding. She concluded in her briefing, the devastating human cost to this torture program cannot be overstated. Unfortunately, this toll is largely hidden due to the ongoing secrecy and control that the CIA exercises. This is what I can say due to security restrictions. Imagine what she can't say. Now, here's the thing that really pisses me off about all this, because this should be in the public eye. At the end of the day, this is the woman who's been nominated to be the chief spy in the country. On Monday, The Intercept reported that senior Warner advisor wrote an email to Democrats on the Intelligence Committee informing them that a classified memo compiled by the committee's minority staff and aimed at examining Haspel's full involvement with torture and destruction of evidence was removed from the Senate. It was supposed to be housed in a secure facility inside Congress so senators and their staff could read it before voting on Haspel's nomination, but it was removed. Was it Warner who removed it? That memo, according to the democratic process, provided classified details on Haspel's role in torture, the destruction of evidence, and her tenure more broadly. The memo was based in part on the investigation conducted by US Attorney and Special Prosecutor John Durham into CIA activities following the September 11th attacks. On the eve of the committee vote on her confirmation, that memo was moved out of the US Congress, and Warner's office said senators needed to ask his office in order to arrange to see it. Democratic sources have told The Intercept that few senators have read the classified memo. Some of these people that were picked up in this torture program were picked up because they were wearing a Casio watch. The CIA basically said to groups of mercenaries and rebels, give us anybody who's a terrorist and we'll give you money. So they were just picking up people left, right and centre who they thought would fit the bill of a terrorist, got money for it. And in some cases these people were tortured and then taken to Guantanamo Bay and released. Because they were picked up for this Casio watch, the Casio F91W, a cheap digital watch sold around the world, was taken as evidence of detainees having bomb-making training. This is one of the most popular watches in the world. One guy, this is not from Gina Haspel's base in Thailand, by the way, it's just to give you an overview of the sort of shit that went on. Murat Kurnaz, who is a Turkish citizen and resident of Germany, was held in an extrajudicial detention by the United States in a military base in Kandahar, Afghanistan, and in the Guantanamo Bay detention camp. Beginning in December 2001, he was tortured in both places, and then by early 2002, intelligence officials of the United States and Germany had concluded that accusations against Kurnaz were groundless, but he was tortured for a year at 2 different places because he was he was taken off a bus, if I remember right, taken off a bus full of Tablighi Jamaat pilgrims because he was a foreigner in Tora Bora. So he was on a bus, probably, I don't know, seeing the world, and because he was a foreigner, these mercenaries grabbed him off a bus, gave him to the CIA, got some money for him, and then he was tortured in Afghanistan and then sent to Guantanamo Bay and tortured before being released a year later. That's the sort of shit that went on. And I can only conclude that this was happening in Thailand, which Haspel was overseeing. You've heard of what we know about. Imagine what we don't know about. Now, in 2009, I won't show it, but I'm sure you've seen it by now, Obama gave his whole we tortured some folks speech. And he did his executive order, which stopped the torture. But it was only an executive order. It wasn't until 2015 that the prohibition of torture was actually put back into law. You can see it here. I think it was John McCain who actually tabled this motion. And it only passed by 78 to 21. And 3 of the people I've noticed who voted against that, who voted for torture, basically, were Jeff Sessions, Mitch McConnell, and Lindsey Graham. They were just 3 of the 21 who voted no on that. Now, I want to get to my point here, I suppose. The point is, even though, as this Pew Research Centre poll says, public is split, 49% of Americans only 49% of Americans think torture is unacceptable in any circumstances, right? So half of Americans think, yeah, it's fine under some circumstances, and I understand that thinking. However, the Senate Intelligence Committee, who did a massive report and investigation into this, which is still classified, actually there was a book, a 500-page summary of it, that was released. You can buy it on Amazon. And in there, it actually states they got no information directly from the torture that was of any use. Any information they got from these detainees that was of any use, they actually got before the torture started. They gave it up straight away. And then they were tortured. And the people said, oh, we got good information from these people who were tortured. And Gina Haspel said that when Kamala Harris was interviewing her. However, she didn't state whether she got the information before these people were tortured, which is what the Senate Intelligence Committee's review of their findings actually says. Now, what this says to me is she doesn't regret it at all. Haspel doesn't regret it. And I don't think people in America, and I definitely don't think these American politicians, have any clue as to how badly this looks upon the American country, the American government. Because what it says is, yeah, we torture some people, we don't fucking care. We're going to put one of those torturers as the main person at the CIA. I don't think they realise just how badly the rest of the world thinks of America for doing this. I totally understand the anger and the frustration that came out of 9/11. I totally understand it. And I understand the need to think that torture was a good thing, but we've done it now. It's happened. It's been proven that it was no good. Didn't get any information from it. And now we're putting the head of one of these sites as the head of the CIA. ISIS and Al-Qaeda use the fact that America tortured people in their leaflets and their videos to recruit more terrorists. Putting Gina Haspel as head of the CIA is only going to cement that. It's only going to expand it. ISIS and Al-Qaeda are going to use it. Look, they've put a torturer as head of the CIA. They're still going to, we need to fight back. That's what they're going to say. And I don't think anybody in America, any of these senators, has realised it. If they have realised it, they certainly don't care. Especially these Democrats who are going to vote for Haspel to be confirmed. And she will be confirmed by the look of it. I think it's today that the hearing is, so she might have already been confirmed while I'm recording this video. She's certainly due. It's due for a vote. And I want to end the video with this because I love America. I do. I love America. I spent some time over there about 10 years ago, and I met the most wonderful people. I met two of the most wonderful people in my life who I love dearly. And it was at a time when I went through the worst period of my life. Some people who've seen my previous videos will be able to explain what it was like. And these two people, who actually voted for Trump, by the way, are just the salt of the earth. They're the most wonderful people I've ever met in my life. It's a wonderful country. It really is. I love the culture. I love the people. I love the fact that they say, have a nice day, and they really do mean it. They really want you to have a nice day. It's a beautiful country with beautiful people. But if they vote, if the government votes for Gina Haspel to be head of the CIA, it might be the richest country in the world. It might have the most wonderful people in the world. But its government is morally bankrupt. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and please click the bell down there so you get a notification of when I drop further videos. Otherwise, YouTube will hide the video from you. Yes, they have admitted that they do that. Also, we're facing an absolute onslaught in independent media from the establishment at the moment, including YouTube. I don't make any money from YouTube whatsoever. I rely totally on the audience for me to continue doing this. So if you can afford to send me $2, $3, $5, whatever it is that you can afford through Patreon, again, the link is down there, I will be eternally grateful, and it'll allow me to keep giving you the truth and cut through the propaganda and the BS that we get from the corporate and establishment media. If you can't afford to do it, please share the video as wide as you can. Talk to your friends and family about the issues that I and other channels on YouTube who are independent raise. Thanks very much for your support. We have to fight back against this. Till next time, peace and take care.